if you want to talk about merits, it's more technical merits than
What
acting.
technical? What? Garish colors, bad lighting,
Some
weird
Van Gogh
edits.
colors, man.
Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
Welcome to our pod. So, Elle, what are we talking about?
A film this time, very different from our past pods.
But still Chinese, which is actually rare. I never watched Chinese films, do you? I watched a
Not
lot of Hong Kong films
recently.
growing up, but, I haven't watched, like, an Asian film in a long time.
Yeah, the last film I saw was like Wandering Earth, and that was a few years ago. So
Oh, yeah, I did
not,
watch that. I forget.
I like
That
that
was on
one, but
Netflix.
yeah,
uh.
yeah. But we're not here to talk about the Wandering Earth.
No, what are we talking about? It's called 消失的她, which means like she who disappeared, or right? But in Chinese. But in the English title, it's called Lost in the Stars, which makes no sense except for the fact that they're obsessed about Van Gogh, right? What's the painting they keep referring to?
Starry Night.
Starry Night, that's right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the movie we watched. Why did we watch it?
Well, you and I talked about like we watch a lot of cdramas, and it's like, oh, well, let's check out some movies, and then we have a few that we were entertaining to watch, and then I saw a poster for this one. It had Nini, the actress, who we both actually enjoy watching, and then it had a Van Gogh painting in the background. So I was like, oh, I want to see this. I don't know what it's about. The premise sounded interesting because it could have been a supernatural thing.
What was the premise that hooked you? Since you said you didn't actually delve deep into
saying that the husband, like his wife is missing, and then suddenly another woman claims to be his wife. So you don't really know like what's happening, right? Like, is he going through something medical, or is there something supernatural happening to him? So there was for a film, I was like, okay, it's very high concept, and apparently it was I don't know if it's high budget, but it looks like they had a high budget when they filmed it, and it's a very slick film. So I recommended it. I was like, hey, do you want to watch that? And you said yes. So we watched it, and now
I regret that. I want my 2 hours back.
Yes, you did not like it, but I think we can still talk about it, even though you did not enjoy it.
Of course, that's why we're here, right? Like I'm going to not necessarily bash the film, but kind of share why I didn't like it. I think I constantly texted you going, "Oh no, oh no." You're probably sick of getting my texts.
No, I think they were fair. They were fair thoughts. So let's spoilers. So there'll be spoilers throughout.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. So the film. Okay, well, I'll just summarize it quickly, and then we can talk about what we liked and did not like. Basically, this guy. So in a nutshell, he's trying to find his wife, and the police are like, it's not a serious enough case. So they're on an island. They went on a vacation on an island. So they're not. It's like a fictional island. So he's 5 days before he has to return to China because his visa is going to expire. So like the film is in a 5 day, it's the span of the stories takes place in 5 days. So there's like this urgency that they build in, right? There's a countdown. So basically he runs into this woman who's an attorney who's played by Nini, and he convinces her to take on his case to help him investigate because the police will not help him. And he tells
there's a fake wife.
Yes, he says, I woke up and there's this woman claiming to be my wife, but she's not my wife. But then when he pulls out his phone, all the pictures of his real wife have been replaced with this fake wife. So now as a viewer, you're like, is he crazy? Because he comes off very crazy. Like, he sounds like he's going insane. And so for the first third to half of the film, he's just running around to these places that trying to quote unquote investigate, right?
Like very frantically or frenetically.
Yes, like right, like does anyone remember his wife? Remember seeing his wife? They talk about Streisand, is it the Streisand effect, where
No,
if you
no,
say
no, no. The
Mandela effect, yeah, Mandela
it's the same
effect.
thing. Yeah, Streisand and Mandela effect. Yes.
Yeah,
you're
like
right.
if you make some person believe something, then even if it's not true, they start to believe it as fact. Okay, and then so about, I want to say halfway to 2/3 of the way, they reveal the truth. Oh, almost near the end, they reveal the
No, it was
truth, which
towards the
is
end. They spent like the last 20 minutes, right? It's almost a full 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Which was way too long.
Yeah, because you were like starting and stopping, right, as you were watching, because you're like, I don't know if I can handle this. So they revealed that in truth, all these people who, like, including the attorney and all these other the fake wife and all these other people he met along the way during this quote unquote investigation, they're all actors and they're all part of a theater troupe. And the woman and the Nini, the attorney, is actually a stage director, and she's best friends with his missing wife, the real wife. And then it's revealed that what happened is that he had killed his wife for money, and they were just basically trying to terrorize him and scare him and psychologically mess with him to reveal the truth of what happened to the real wife.
Right.
So basically, as you're watching this, so I will say, I was using this word before we start recording, that I think the feeling I felt as I was watching it when they did the reveal is I felt bamboozled, because at no point, okay, so there's two things happening, right? There's what the director or the scriptwriter, or the movie people, what they want you to believe as an audience member, which is like this, like you want this to be a mystery, you want this to be suspenseful. So you're like, okay, if I just suspend disbelief, I will buy into it.
But you have to suspend a lot of disbelief.
You have to suspend a lot, and I think what made it weak for me, because I've seen many, there are many films that do twists like this, and some people have compared this to Gone Girl, which I would argue is not the same. But
I many other films.
Yes, and we can talk about that too. But I think the reason I felt bamboozled is because his frantic urgency and all of the desperation you feel for him as the husband who's looking for his missing wife, it kind of wipes it out entirely, because you're like, why would he be that desperate to look for her? I mean, he can act, but he's like looking for an attorney to help him, right? That's a whole story. That's how he gets involved with Nini, which is he could have just sat back for the 5 days, wait for the visa to expire, and he leaves, and he would have gotten the money. And not only that, she even tells him, advises him as an attorney, you should leave the country, it's for your own good. He's like, no, I have one more day, I'm going to stay. And I was like, is he staying just to make sure that they do not find the wife? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you start questioning everything.
My question is, though, he wants the police to go have an official report of his real wife being missing. So I took it as I cheated by watching it with some comments on, because I was like, this movie is not entertaining. The comments are more entertaining. So I feel like I gathered some intel from the comments. I don't know if it's true or not, which is he needs to establish that his wife is missing or dead so that he can collect. If he just left and he didn't look, he couldn't. But I think he had to hire a lawyer or whoever, a fixer. That's really what Nini is, right? She's not a lawyer. I mean, this is where the suspension of disbelief, right? You're like, what kind of lawyer is this? I said to him, like, I'm pretty sure this is not how lawyers operate, even in Asia, right? And how do you just find a lawyer who just shows up in a motorcycle, drives circles around you, and then happens to be at the pool hall too? You're like, sure, coincidence. So I think he has to put up the act of a frantic husband, for sure. But then someone threw a wrench in his plan, so he's like, oh, someone's messing with me. And maybe he didn't want to be found out that he did kill the wife, but he also had to establish legally there's a case about his wife being missing. So I don't even question that. And I think, you started going down this path, but you didn't maybe pursue it to the end, which is the whole suspension of disbelief. To me, is fine, because it's not like other films of this sort doesn't require you to suspend disbelief. The problem is, usually you willingly go along with it because it's entertaining, or you're like, this is a fun movie or show, or you like the characters enough, or one or two of the characters enough, right? Like, you connect with them, whether they're villains or the so-called good guys. Like, you're like, okay, I'll stay to find out what happens to so and so, or what happens with this mess that so and so is in. Through some combination of those two factors, in my mind. What did not work at all for me is I couldn't care less about any of the characters, no matter if you're supposedly the good, the bad, or the gray. Okay? I just felt like, wow, the filmmakers really want to, they really feel like they think they're really super smart and witty and that they made a really slick film, as you like to say. Now, slick could be a really, really positive or a negative word. I'm using it in a negative connotation here, which is you think so highly of yourself and you think you put one over on people. It's really just cheap, right?
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And I was like, the first 30 plus minutes of the main guy, Zhu Yilong, the actor, right? Going around frantically being this and that, I just didn't care. Because he's not likable. He came across as either an unlikable crazy guy or a sleazy unlikable crazy guy. Or just a sleazy unlikable guy. Either combination, I'm just like, well, I don't care. He's just annoying like a fly I want to swat. And then when the other characters entered the fray, it didn't make me like them anymore. The fake wife was overacting to the hilt. Like, she was like a caricature. Now, I think it was on purpose, right? To drive him nuts. 'Cause she, in the movie, is an actress playing the part of a devilish fake wife, pretending to be the real wife to put one over on him. But you're like, at this point, you're like, this is a farce, but a very bad one. As much as I like Nini in the other show, in this one, I mean, after watching this movie, I was like, I don't really like Nini anymore because her character is so annoying too, right? Like, she's just like, I gotta be tough lady in the first half. For no apparent reason. I'm like, just because you're a lawyer, this is not how you should act, right? If you told me you were Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, right, with some law degree, I would believe it more. But then you're like, but why?
I don't have a problem with how she's portrayed. I think, but I did say to you, anyone could have played this role. Like, it didn't require a Nini other than her name. Do you know what I mean? Like, her star power for box office draw. Like, it was not a character that you're watching to be like, wow, she's a revelation, right? Like, it's more like
a revelation of poor script choices.
I mean, the problem is, and this, obviously there's no romance between these two, but there's no chemistry either, right? You're just, because okay,
there's no connection from a human point with any of the characters. Whether you either care to hate them so much you're gonna stick around for that. You're just like, oh, these people are just.
Because in the beginning, he's not supposed to be the villain. So I think that's where it's weak too, right? Like, okay, if you compare to a Gone Girl, where I told you, I think the book is a lot better than the film. The film to me was not great. But the reason Gone Girl was so good in that sense for this type of genre is because the husband, like, okay, and maybe that's like a Western view, but like, you always suspect the husband first, right? Like, it's almost a trope to say that. At no point in this film do the police even suspect the husband. I mean, the police are barely involved, right? So also the one police officer that's involved, he's fake
it's
too.
Not real.
Okay. And I was like, I don't know who this actor is, by the way, but he's in all the posters. Like, he's in all the like, he's like the fourth, actor that they're using to promote the film. So I don't know if he's like a well-known film actor, but I mean, his role also was very minimal. Like, he's fewer connection with the main characters than Nini. But so, like, the whole time you're watching it, at no point is the husband, is there a perspective of like, maybe the husband did it, right? The whole time it's really, you're supposedly on his side or in his head, and you're supposed to be feeling like, oh my God, this desperation. You're supposed to want to be a part of it or feel sympathetic towards it. Whereas in Gone Girl, you, at some point, you are even as an audience member, you're like, this is an unreliable narrator, right? Like, why are we not considering you as a suspect, right? Like, you say this, but where's your real alibi, right? And then I feel like those scenes where they do the backstory, where he starts telling Nini like a little bit of what happened or his side, that was supposed to be his alibi. He's building his alibi, as you would say, for future reference, right? Like, so if anyone ever like subpoenaed Nini to talk about it in court, she could say, well, this is what he told me. So but then even then you're supposed to believe him. You're not situated to be like, oh, what if he's lying? So I feel like by the time they reveal everything, you're like, wait, it's a kind of a letdown. Yeah, it's a letdown.
The film doesn't really I feel like know what it wants to be, so it decides to be everything. That's like I said. It feels like the director or directors. I think you said there are two. I don't know. Feel like they're so smart. Let's just dump everything in the kitchen sink in there and it'd be the smartest movie ever made. And you're like, but it's the dumbest movie ever made because what do you actually want? Like in real life, this may be how it feels because you don't know all the aspects of someone, right? So you don't see it. But in a film narrative, right? There needs to be narrative cohesion, tonal cohesion, and this doesn't feel like that because, like I said. First half of the film almost feels like you just tried to annoy the heck out of me by being like, make me watch someone's bad dream, right? An unsympathetic character's bad dream, and there's no cohesion to why things are happening. And by the way, I think I told you this repeated. I'm like, if I were the guy, why would I go hire a lawyer? I'd be either like, I'm out of here because this is batshit crazy, or I'm batshit crazy. I would question my own sanity, right?
I wouldn't even stay in that hotel room.
Right. Like what?
Because she keeps showing up.
Right. Like he's just like consistently playing into whatever the fake setup it is. He's going along with what he knows is in his mind a trap. So like why?
Yes.
What? Because a lawyer told him to?
It's interesting. He kept getting phone calls from the casino. So he's a gambling addict, which they would later reveal. Like he kept like hanging up on the casino calling him. They're like, I don't feel like they tied that up nicely either. No. And at some point, why is he not questioned? Like maybe it's the casino people getting to me. Like he doesn't seem to even question that. And
he doesn't question anything. So... And then at the very end, they decide that they want to spend 15 minutes. I said this. I even texted you when it happened. Like, oh no, they're gonna spend 15 minutes on girl power. Like suddenly the background story of the stage director Bestie, what relationship she had with the real wife, who is the only character who is sort of genuine and not sleazy and annoying. And I'm like, why do I care right now? Why don't you just tell me she's a best friend who I don't need to see that she's a great director. And I'm not sure how they established that she's a great director because all the shots of her directing, I was like, this is like high school stage play.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't even like film directing. She's on a theater.
Yeah, let's not even question how she put together this whole Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, with finances
in 2 days, right? In 2 days, the whole gang just shows up, in Barlandia. So, like, tonally, it's like, what do you want to be? Do you want this to be a moral tale about justice being served? Do you want to talk about how it's so dangerous, right? There are really bad people out there, the insidiousness of bad men who are gamblers. Do you want this to be a sad, like, a story about friendship, right? Or things that could have been, like, where are you going with this? Like, they're just, and then there's the Van Gogh reference, which is like so random.
I feel like this was sort of what am I thinking of? It's like you're so in love with something and you just want to pay homage to it repeatedly. Like there are a lot of Van Gogh references throughout the whole film. And
for no apparent reason other than she's an artist who apparently likes Van Gogh.
Well, the only reason that she went out on a date with him was because he asked her, like, do you want to go see a Van Gogh exhibit?
Yeah, he studied up on her.
Yeah. So I guess that was like the entryway into. Oh, so another thing we didn't mention is that she comes from money, so her family is supposedly very wealthy. So they're saying his motive basically to meeting her and wanting to romance her is because she was rich.
Well, he met her by accident, so he didn't target her. But once he
found out. Yeah.
So unsympathetic, unlikable. That's kind of how I feel. And then, like I said, the Van Gogh touch made no sense other than you said. It's like someone just wanted to throw that in there because, again, I almost feel like maybe it's another prestige, like a cachet factor. Does that make sense? Like the director's like, oh, we're so smart. Let's put some Van Gogh in there because that's just cool. Like that shows we're so cool. I'm like, why?
I mean, yeah, I wish it was more than a visual like hook. like, I mean, okay, so the last scene, I did think the way they did. So the most poignant and artistic moment was in the ocean because
When
in the
she's
beginning,
dying.
yeah, because in the beginning when they met, or I don't know if in the midway in the relationship, he was like, I'll take you out some. Oh, he's like the nicest place to see stars or under the ocean because he's a diving instructor. So he had promised that she would take her to, I guess, dive in the ocean because they were always training in a pool. He would take her to the ocean to see it, and so the way she died is, he trapped her in basically a shark cage. I don't know how he found that cage or how he knew that cage was there, but he lured her in. And so when she looked up, the way and it's obviously CG, but they made it so that there's schools of fish swimming in the circle, and it looks like Van Gogh's Starry Night, which I was like, oh, that's actually very creative. Like it's
yes,
actually
but it
very
makes no
beautiful.
sense. Like you didn't need that scene.
I know. It's like I can't. There's a word I'm trying to think of, but it's like
they're stuffing it down the throat, like forcing it. They're forcing it down your throat. Like I must get this shot in there.
Yes, they're forcing it, but it's also like they indulge. They're indulging themselves.
Yes.
To be like, I really love this art, and I want to figure out how to put it in the film, and they do use it, like I said, throughout the film. Like the colors, certain angles, the way they actually presented certain rooms and streets, they were all heavily influenced by Van Gogh, and I think they actually show that in some of the promotional stuff too. So yeah, I mean, I think it was an indulging thing where they wanted to just showcase that. And again, it would have made more sense if it was that kind of artistic film, like Amelie, like
yes.
The French film, like.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of film where you indulge in art. Oh yeah, I would love it.
And it would make sense in the tone and the overall narrative arc of Amelie, where they just have these like vignettes, right?
Yes.
The photo booth. I mean, I love Amelie. Now I should.
I love Amelie too.
Right? Yeah.
I want to rewatch it.
And you like the characters, even though you don't actually get so into depth into who they are. You're just kind of glossing over them too, right? It's like day in the life or days in the life of these characters that are passing by each other and then eventually sort of establish tenuous and then stronger relationship, Here you're just like, you're forcing this down my throat. Like you want to be smart and you want to make a very flashy God knows what. And it's very tiring. And honestly, if I didn't know any better, I would have said this film was like a bad propaganda film about the horrors of tourism in Southeast Asia and gambling.
So I read that, I don't know if they confirmed it, but it was supposedly influenced by a real life case that did happen to a Chinese
I read about
woman.
that after you told me.
Yeah,
but it's also based on a play, right? A movie and a play.
Yeah, it's based on several things. It's based on some older films, a French film, and then a Italian.
No, a Soviet film, and then a French play that was based on, but also derivative of many genre films of this sort.
Yes.
Some people, like you can be good derivative and still, or you even could be cheap derivative and entertaining. I just say it didn't quite make the grade on any of them.
Yeah.
It just is.
Okay. So just the true crime case was a woman. Her husband bought life insurance and he pushed a pregnant woman down a cliff in Thailand. So I think that's why they. So in this film, it's a fictional Southeast Asian island, but there's like Thai, I guess some Thai words written on the signs and stuff. I don't know if that's real Thai or fake Thai. But yeah, so I think for the Chinese audience, that was probably something that they most recognize, right? Because that was something that was real in the news. Although that woman who was pushed off the cliff, she did survive.
Yes.
In this film, unfortunately the wife did not survive. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I think they were trying to do a lot, and I do think one of the directors, like I said, I read that there were two directors. One of them, this was like his first film, and I think he was very ambitious.
It feels like a student film then, because it feels like AI written. Like, let's put everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Like, even the last thing, right? The reveal that he thought so the reason he killed her was he thought she was going to divorce him because of his gambling issues, right? And she realized that he's going to use her for her money, not because he loved her. But then she actually realized she was pregnant, and she was going to show him the ultrasound when he killed her.
Yeah.
And so then that was the last huge reveal when the bestie said, "By the way, you killed your own unborn child." So what? I didn't care. Did you care? Did he care? I mean, they made it sound like he sort of cared. No, nobody cared.
A real person, like a real psychopath like him, would not care that he killed his own child. There would be zero remorse.
What's the point? Like, are you supposed to care? I didn't care. I'd be like, oh God, why did they have to throw that in at the last minute? It doesn't add anything to the story.
That's to pull at the audience's heartstrings. That's for the audience. That's not for the killer.
But did it pull at your heartstrings?
I was sad, but I wasn't like, I didn't cry or anything. You know,
I mean, I've seen people who like the film who say, "Oh, I really cried when she died." I was like, yeah, I mean, she was the most innocent person in this whole film, right? And likable one, the real wife. But at the same time, again, she made no sense either. Because in her youth, when she made besties with her bestie, the director, future stage director, they made her seem such a tough girl. The girl who died. But suddenly she becomes this like easily duped doofus who the minute, she realizes her husband meant to kill her, she's just like, oh, okay, I'll just like accelerate my death. She gave up.
Oh, when she removed the mask,
I was like,
scooping.
What? Like, it's not no fight, right? Not at all. Just like, I give up.
I mean, I feel like, it's one of those things where I'm sure if you were her, it's like, it's terrifying, right? So like, her reaction was also strangely very calm. Like, oh, let me just
not terrifying. It's like I resigned myself to the fact that I married a horrible man and therefore he's gonna kill me. I'm gonna die. Like, huh?
Because it's also I think you would be like that if he's been like, abusive towards you the whole time. But he's never been abusive. Like, this is.
He was just a gambler. You were so in love with him and had such high hopes, and this was like the final disappointment. Which it kind of was, but it wasn't because she was going to divorce him. So she's already kind of worked through her hang-ups about him, right?
Right, yeah.
So like I said, it made no sense. It's like, it's almost like one of those like Chinese dramas where they want to do like a beautiful death. Like a heroic resignation for the sake of, again, indulging, right? In something. You're just like, but it makes no sense in the context of the character in the last 15 minutes of girl power in their youth, and anyways. Okay, I think, anything else?
No, I mean, I think, look, we gave it a shot. We I mean, we've spent way more time watching C-dramas where we're like, what is this?
Retreats from Chinese movies. Retreats.
But I think, like I said...
don't retreat completely. There is a Taijinsen movie I want to watch.
Yes, there's a film that we want to watch.
And I'm pretty sure he's not a weird psychopath. Even if he was a weird psychopath, I would give it a shot because usually his characters I can like kind of relate to, right? Like you care enough to like see what happens. Here, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this film was more, if you want to talk about merits, it's more technical merits than acting.
What technical? What? Garish colors, bad lighting,
some
weird
Van Gogh
edits.
colors, man.
No, they're not. No, they're very neon. It's like cheap disco colors because they spend a lot of time in cheap discos.
Scene. Yeah,
and the hotel.
Well, I read that what's the name? Zhu Yilong. I think it's Zhu Yilong, Cantonese. Yeah. They said he like had to learn how to. I didn't even notice it, but he apparently trained to twitch half his face for some of those scenes. Like he had to train. They were like to make him do that muscle spasms, and I was like, oh, I wish he spent more time on other aspects of his character.
Well, people say he's the best one in the cast. Like he's a great actor. I don't say he's a bad actor. It's just his character is just so.
No, it's his character. It's not. Yeah. It's not him. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched him in other things. I know he's well known. I don't know how famous he is, but I thought he was fine he played the role, but like we don't.
It's a nondescript role. Yeah,
we just didn't like this guy.
it's a nondescript movie with a bunch of like forgettable nondescript characters that are trying to be bigger than who they are on paper. Like they think they're
Yeah.
Lara Croft, but really, they're a 2D paper mache version of don't know, like, what
Yeah.
is this? Like, if you
Yeah.
told me this was like a C movie, I believe it. But they're saying this is a A movie.
Mm. I mean,
Not even a
there's
B movie, okay?
so basically we're saying you could check it out, but
No, don't check it out.
go
Unless
in
you're
with
a huge fan of Zhu Yilong twitching. Yeah, don't watch it, is all I'm gonna say. Unless you really like it, like the people in it, which like I said, after watching this, I don't like Nini as much because she just annoyed me as a character. Oh, and what the heck? Here's another indulgent thing. The whole lemon with coffee thing. I was like, so I had to look that up. I'm like, oh, was they being smart? Like she's so unique. She drinks like coffee, the lemon, and then apparently it was also meant to be a seed, right? About the fact that the lawyer is actually related or has some sort of connection with the wife because the wife does the same thing. I had to Google that, and it's apparently a TikTok trend. I'm like, so the directors thought this was cool because it's a trend on TikTok. What? Why? What normal person goes and drinks black coffee with lemon?
Wait, wouldn't the husband have noticed that? Because if it's that quirky,
Yes, well,
right?
he's dumb. I said this to you. I said for a villain, he's really dumb. He's a really dumb
Well,
villain.
most villains are dumb, Most psychopaths are not smart. They think they are. But usually they leave mistakes or they leave clues because they're not smart as they think they are.
Well, he
But that's a
almost got
different
away
show.
with it.
He would have gotten away with it if he had just stayed away from Nini instead of
Left the
falling into
country.
her
If he just
trap.
left the country.
If he just didn't leave his hotel room or switched it to a different room with where the fake wife couldn't come in and bother him, he
Yeah.
would have been fine.
Yeah. That would have been a very short movie, not 2 hours of my
that would
time
have been more
wasted.
that might have
Yeah.
been more interesting to watch.
Yeah. So.
All right.
All right.
Well,
All right. We will, like I said, retreat from most Chinese movies for a while, except for the one I think hope we'll watch soon, but we'll see. I don't know. I mentioned this to someone else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And our friend who watches Chinese stuff, he's like, "Yeah, no, Chinese make great dramas sometimes. Not so good at movies. It's the format, I think. It's maybe the narrative demands. It's not production values because we used to. Well, we grew up on low budget Hong Kong cinema from the 90s and the 2000s, and they're cheap and it's outrageous, right? The stories, but they were very entertaining because there's cohesion to what they were about.
Right. Yeah, it might be like what you said, like they're trying to be too Hollywood, but the jumping too many steps ahead to be that versus
it's all over the place. It's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, only for this one, maybe we'll see another one that's worth. We'll give a better review.
All right.
Well, on that note,
yes, let's end this and end it good.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.